Hey everybody, welcome back to another Deck Profile Friday. This will be the second last one of the year, as Christmas is coming up this weekend, and I wanted to still continue with the Deck Profile Fridays, showing off one of my I wouldn't say favorite decks, but it's a pretty interesting deck that was played in the 2010 format. And that deck that I'm going to talk about is called VileGar, which stands for Vileplume Gengar. Right? It uses the Gengar from Diamond and Pearl Stormfront, and then the Vileplume from Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I think it's Unleashed or Undaunted. I can't remember which one. And the whole purpose of the deck is to just trainer lock your opponent and then hitting for massive damage with Poltergeist. Right? And that's the whole point, right? And then the thing with the deck is that it prevents both players from using trainer cards. Right? So with your deck, you cannot play a whole ton of trainer cards. So therefore you have to have a more of a supporter based build. Right? And that's the tough part, because you don't have like the crazy speed as some of the other decks do, because of that ability, or I guess it was an actual Poke Body. It was a Poke Body, because they still had Pokemon powers and Poke Bodies at this time, which is they changed it to abilities in Black and White, but yeah, it was Poke Bodies and Poke Powers this time, and yeah, so I just want to show off this deck, and it's actually a pretty good deck, pretty good play, and yeah, let's get into it. So to start, we have a one level X, 3 Gengar. We have 3 Haunter, and yes, I do play 2 different ones, and then 4 Gastly. All right, so this Gastly is such an awesome card. Like this is like what makes a lot of the deck, right? 50 HP, 1 retreat, which is unfortunate. It should be free retreat. Resistance to colorless minus 20, and then weakness to dark plus 10. So the heart gold, pardon me, not the heart gold, the diamond and pearl cards, right? The diamond and pearl and platinum, I believe, the platinum series, they didn't have ×2 weaknesses. They had pluses, right? Prior to diamond and pearl, they had ×2, and then I believe after Diamond and Pearl, right? So after Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, when Heart Gold Soul Silver came into play, they had brought back ×2 weakness, and that's kind of how it's been ever since. So this is the only time where it didn't have ×2 weakness. Yeah, then 2 awesome attacks. Pitch Dark, your opponent can't play any trainer cards from his or her hand during your opponent's next turn. And that's an energy-less attack, which is awesome. And then Trick Gas for a Psychic, it does 10. And then you may switch Gastly with one of your bench Pokemon. And so it's great little chip damage, right? And if you switch into something like a Spiritomb, you can still kind of keep that trainer lock, right? And just do a little bit of damage. So 4 of those, and then the Haunter. We do have 2 different kinds. Right, we got the one from Heart Gold Soul Silver. I think it's Triumphant. And then the Diamond and Pearl Stormfront one. I like both, right? But I do play them for different reasons. The Heart Gold Soul Silver one, the one on the left, it's a little bit weaker in HP, right? It has 70 rather than the Stormfront's 80. But it does have an interesting attack there and sneaky placement. You may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So that's really cool. And then Sleep Poison for 2 colorless. The defending Pokemon is asleep and poisoned, which is really good. But the main selling point of it is it's got free retreat, right, which is something that I really like. And then once again, the same, resistance and weakness as the Gastly, except the weakness is ×2. And then the Diamond and Pearl Stormfront Haunter, it's got 80 HP. It has 1 retreat, so it's not too great compared to the Triumphant one there. 2 good attacks, though. Smog, Energyless, they're poisoned. And then Hoodwink for Psychic at this 30. And then it says you may search your opponent's discard pile for up to 3 at any combination of trainer, supporter, or stadium cards and put them into your opponent's hand. And that is really good because when you combo that with the Gengar, right, from Diamond and Pearl Stormfront, 110 HP, free retreat, resistance to colorless -20, and then weakness to dark +30. It's a Poké Power is awesome. Its first attack and second attack are awesome, but the second attack there is the high damage attack, right? For a Psychic and colorless Poltergeist, that's 30 damage times the number of trainer cards in your opponent's hand, right? Trainer, supporter, and stadium, right? And that is awesome. So you can hit for high damage, right? And typically things in this format, you had maybe about 140 HP max or so. And, you're able to hit that pretty easily just with only 5 trainers in your opponent's hand, right? Shadow Room there, its first attack for a Psychic. You can put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If they have a Pokemon Power, you put 6 instead, which is crazy because you can knock out a lot of things. It's great at taking out, let's say like Claydolls or Uxies or Azelfs, right? Stuff like that, right? And then it's Poké Power, which is absolutely awesome. And that's another thing too that you can get around, right? Is, with that Shadow Room, is it's, Poké Power fainting spell. If it's damaged by an attack during your opponent's turn, right, and it's knocked out, you flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is knocked out, right? So you're pretty much trading KOs, which is really, really cool. It's level X there, which is a nice addition, 140 HP. Same weakness as the Haunter from Triumphant there. It's ×2 dark. Resistance is -20 colorless, and then free retreat. So its ability there, actually Poké Power, level down. Just kind of quickly show you that here. Right? Once during your turn before you attack, you may choose one of your opponent's Pokemon level X and then remove the level up card from that Pokemon. And then shuffle that card into his or her deck. So that's really awesome. It's great at going against things like Gardevoir or, I don't know, like Luxray or Dialga, right? Just stuff where, the amount of damage that's been accumulated on it, right? When you level it down, it just knocks out that basic form, right? And that's the whole purpose. And then it's attack there for 2 Psychic and a colorless Compound Pain. This attack does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon that already has any damage counters on it. So This is, you know, a spread attack, right, to combo with Poltergeist. You know, if you can Poltergeist many things on the board and then level up and use Compound Pain, you're going to get a huge number of knockouts, right? It's not that hard to take maybe, I don't know, like 4 knockouts in a turn with this deck. And that is the Gengar line, everybody. So now we're going to show off the support line, the support Pokemon. And that is the Vileplume line. So we have 2 Vileplume, we got 2 Gloom, and then 2 Oddish. So Oddish there, 40 HP, which is kind of okay. I think it's from Undaunted. They're all from Undaunted, I think. Ramp for 10, which is okay. Find a friend for a grass. Flip a coin of heads. Search your deck for a grass Pokemon. Show it to your opponent and put it into your hand. We don't play grass, so we don't really use that attack. And then retreat cost of 1, resistance to nothing, and then weakness to psychic, which is kind of interesting because it's typically fire, right? Is probably not too bad, right? I don't know. It's maybe about 50-50, right? Having a psychic weakness versus a fire weakness. I think the only fire type being played during this format was maybe Blaziken FB level X, right? Blaziken FB and that's level X, right? You may see an Infernape, you know, Infernape 4 and Infernape 4 level X. You know, you may see that, but I don't really think that's too likely, unlike the year before. The Gloom there, 80 HP, retreat cost of 1, no resistance and weakness to Psychic again, and then Miracle Powder. You don't need to worry about that as we don't play the grass. And then the Vileplume there, 120 HP, 2 retreat, no resistance, weakness to Psychic. It's a Tackler Dazzling Pollen. We don't really use it all because, once again, we don't play the grass. It's mainly there, like the whole evolution line is there. For the Pokebody, each player can't play any trainer cards from his or her hand. That's why it's there, right? You're not attacking with it. You're not doing anything with it. You're just leaving it on your bench while Gengar attacks. That's literally what its job is. And that does it for that. So now on to the single. I guess not single, but like the other support Pokemon, but kind of not like as supportive as the Vileplume. The starting Pokemon in the text. That's what I'm looking for. We got 4 Spiritomb. We have 2 Uxie. We have 1 Azelf and 1 Chatot, as well as 1 Unown Q. So Spiritomb, it's there for 2 reasons. 1, it's Pokebody, right? Which is absolutely awesome. It's like it's something seal. It's really hard to read, right? But as long as Spiritomb is in the active, each player can't play any trainer cards from his or her hand. That's the whole purpose of him, as well as its Darkness Grace attack. Search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play and put it onto that Pokemon. So this is what makes you able to get that turn 2 Vileplume, right? If you get that Oddish first turn, right, you can, you know, Darkness Grace, evolve it to Gloom, and then on your next turn, evolve it into Vileplume, and then boom, there you go. And then, yeah, it's attack there, Will-O-The-Wisp. We don't use it all. Uxie there, right? It's actually a really good card. This is the original setup card. You know, this is the original Shaman EX from Roaring Skies. This is the original Crobat V from Darkness Ablaze there. And this is from Diamond and Pearl Legends Awakened. 70 HP, 1 retreat, no resistance, and then weakness to Psychic plus 20. Setup, it's Poképower. Once during your turn, when you play Uxie from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 7 in your hand. Absolutely awesome. And then its attack there, Psychic Restore. So this attack is actually really good because it's what gets around Gengar Stormfront's fainting spell Poképower, right? If you were able to hit it for 90, meaning that they had 3 trainer cards in the hand with Poltergeist, right? And then, like, how do you knock that out? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can Shadow Room it, but that would kind of be a waste of a Shadow Room because you could just attack with Uxie there and Psychic Restore, right, to knock it out, and it prevents them from Shadow Rooming your Uxie, right? You putting it back into the deck, and then you're able to use it again to draw cards, right? So that's the other reason. So it's great at getting around that fainting spell. Azelf there, 70 HP, retreat cost of 1, no resistance, weakness to Psychic plus 20, so same thing as Uxie. That's Poképower there. It's awesome. Time Walk. When you play it onto your bench, you may look at all your face-down prize cards. If you do, choose one Pokemon you find there. So it can be Basic, Evolution, Level X, etc. And put that Pokemon into your hand. And then you need to put 1 card from your hand into your prizes face down. So this is kind of like the original Hisuian Heavy Ball, except like way better because it's a searchable card. All right, a lot of Pokemon search, whereas not every deck is playing Hisuian Heavy Ball, right? This is played in practically every deck, which is cool. Lock up there, which is awesome. For a Psychic at this 20, and then they can't retreat. So that's really, really good. Chatot there, it's a great shuffle draw, right, with its Mimic attack, right? Yeah, you shuffle your hand into your deck and then draw a number of cards equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand, right? So this is great at getting out of bad scenarios. It's also got free retreat, which is awesome. And then its second attack there, Chatter, and yes, there's a thing called Chatterlock, right? The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn, right? So this is great. If your opponent has something that has like a colorless resistance, right, and they can't damage you, you just Chatterlock them, and if they can't, I guess shuffle their hand back into their deck, or stop drawing cards from their deck, right? Then you can just end up decking them out, which is, an actual viable strategy. And then lastly, Unown Q there, right? It's free retreat, which makes it a really good starter as well. And it's Poképower, so it's mainly there for that. Once during your turn, you may, if it's on your bench, you may discard all cards attached to it. And then attach Unown Q to one of your Pokemon as a Pokemon tool card. And as long as it's attached, that Pokemon pays a colorless less to retreat. So this is awesome. This is great at things like your Spiritomb there, right? And there you go. That's the Pokemon of the deck. And now we're going to get into the trainers, supporters, and stadiums, even though there's not really any trainers. It's mainly a supporter build like I mentioned earlier. So we have, for supporters, 4 Bebe'S Search, 3 Looker's Investigation, 3 Pokémon Collector, 3 Twins, 2 Copycat, a Palmer's Contribution, and then lastly 3 Broken Time Space. So Bebe'S Search there, you choose a card from your hand, put it on top of your deck, and then search your deck for a Pokemon, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. So this is like the only card that can search out our evolutions. So we play 4. Pokemon Collector there, you search out 3 basics, right, with them. So we get a nice consistent build. Looker's Investigation. So look at your opponent's hand, and then you can choose you or your opponent. That player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck, and then draws up to 5 cards. So it's really awesome. You're able to get insight on what your opponent has, and then therefore you can decide on whether or not you're going to poltergeist that turn, right? If they don't have a whole lot of trainer cards, you could just make them shuffle. Right? There you go. Twins. So Twins is actually really good because this deck is more of a come from behind deck. You may use this card only if you have more prize cards left than your opponent. Search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. And you typically want to chain twins. Right, remember, you're not trying to, like, you can one-hit KO knockout, but you're more wanting to use that Shadow Room strategy and then that Compound Pain attack to take multiple knockouts in one turn. And so doing that, you're going to end up going behind on prizes. And this is, a great card to use when that's happening. Right, so search your deck for any 2 cards. This is like the original Starbirth here. Right, this is Raihan on steroids pretty much. And then Copycat, so another good shuffle draw card here. Professor Oak's New Theory is actually not too bad of a card as well. You can maybe try that. Palmer's Contribution, search your discard ball for up to 5 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards. Show them to your opponent and put them in and shuffle them into your deck. So it's a recovery card. And then Broken Time Space or Stadium. Each player may evolve a Pokemon that he or she played or evolved during that turn. Right? So this card is absolutely amazing. This is probably one of the best stadiums the game has ever seen, because this is what made stage 2 decks extremely good. Right? You could play an Oddish, evolve to Gloom, and then evolve to Vileplume all in one turn. Right? It's practically rare candy. And you play it in this deck because with the trainer lock, you're not able to play that rare candy, right? So this here is like the next best thing. And it's just, I can't say enough about that stadium. Like, it's probably like the best stadium this deck has ever seen, or any deck has ever seen. I wish this was in the format right now, as this would create so many combos. Yeah, and that is the trainer cards in the deck, right? That's the supporter cards. This is all that there is. And lastly, we are on to the energy cards. So the energy cards, there's a lot of them. And, there's a pretty good variety. So we obviously do play Psychic Energy. We got 7 Psychic. We got 4 Call Energies, 2 Rescue Energy, and then 2 Warp Energy. So Psychic, being as this is a Psychic deck, we play Psychic. Call Energy provides a colorless energy. And then once during your turn, before you attack, you may Search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, up to 2, and put them onto your bench. And if you do, your turn ends. So this, with Pokemon Collector, makes it super, super consistent. Rescue Energy provides a colorless energy. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, put that Pokemon back into your hand and then discard all other cards attached to it. So this is great at getting back at your Gengars. One of them gets knocked out, you return it to your hand. It's your turn. You play Gastly down. You evolve it to Gengar with Broken Time Space. And then you're back in, it's back in play, and you're able to Shadow Room that turn as well. And then Warp Energy, right? Warp Energy is practically our only way to switch with this deck, right? A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll Bright Look, use Luxray GL LvX's attack, right? And bring up that Vileplume from the bench to the active and just, leave it there. Warp Energy prevents that because it forces us to switch when we attach it. And that is the deck, everybody. So, yeah, this is a pretty interesting deck. It's a pretty good deck to play as well. It's very, very frustrating to play against. So if you want to, piss a lot of people off, then, play this deck. But, yeah. So in terms of matchups, right, I think roughly it's pretty even, across the board. I think its worst matchup is probably Dialga, right? And I say Dialga because it can shut off the Vileplume there. And, the Gengar could be a problem, right? But there are ways to get around it for them. Like they do have the Crobat there. I've seen a lot of lists play Expert Belt, right? So it can put that remove lost to 100 damage, right? Or if they second strike, right, then that puts it, 2 damage counters on it already. So that'd be putting at 90, and then they just Crobat G, poke a turn, right? And then play Crobat G again to get that knockout. It's just a pretty tough matchup. But versus everything else, I think it's, got at least a 50-50 matchup. And, yeah, there you go. So, there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And once again, if you like, what you're hearing and seeing, then, like this video and subscribe to the channel, as I'm always trying to produce quality content like this. This is Deck Profile Friday. I show off a deck, every single Friday from any Pokemon format in the Pokemon TCG. Could be, like current, like 2022, 2023 seasons, Sword and Shield on. Or it could be something like this, in the 2010 season, right? Where it was Majestic Dawn on, I believe. So, and then on Sundays, so that's on Fridays. Deck Profile Fridays on Fridays. Sunday is opening Sundays. Right, I'll open up a Pokemon TCG product and just give my thoughts on it. And then Wednesdays is Gameplay Wednesdays, so you'll typically see me playing on Pokemon TCG Online with current decks and just kind of show off on how to use them, etc. But occasionally I'll put up something that's retro, or like an in-person game, and just kind of show off that. So, but there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, see you in the next video.